Now, a professor is also a member of a profession, presumably one that regards its discipline as a vocation in the full sense of the word, from vocare to call, despite some modern uses that reduce it to the mere practicalities of employment practice rather than theory. The product of training rather than education vocation is more than this. A calling is both active and passive. It implies a sense of purpose. It carries with it a duty to be vocal. Color theory is the study of color and its position in art. Humans have been thinking about colors for thousands of years, but modern color theory really arose in the 1800s, when it began to move from science into a pure art. A knowledge of color theory does require some understanding of simple scientific principles about color, but much of modern color theory is about the way people see, think about, and interact with colors, from those used on walls to those chosen for a company logo. Color theory is not only something you see applied to art, you can also see it in graphic design, photography, fashion, animation, and even video games. Height is correlated with a lot of things. Up to a certain height, taller people make more money than the vertically challenged, and the taller presidential candidate almost always wins. Now, a study finds that your height as an adult has a profound effect on your perception of your health. Short people judge their health to be worse than average or tall people judge theirs. The research was published in the journal Clinical Endocrinology. Data for the study came from the 2003 Health Survey for England. More than 14,000 participants filled out questionnaires and had their heights measured. The study only looked at how good the subject thought his or her health was, not their actual health. Questions focused on 5 areas: mobility, self-care, normal activities, pain or discomfort, and anxiety, depression. Men shorter than about 5'4" and women shorter than 5 feet reported the worst impressions. Scientists discover new species all the time, on the order of 15,000 a year. One of the latest additions to the tree of life is a new type of leopard frog, which might sound unremarkable, except for where it was found, New York City. But how does a frog go unnoticed in the Big Apple? Well, even experts have a hard time telling this new species from its northern and southern cousins on looks alone. But the new guy has a different croak, which raised ecologists' suspicions. So they tracked down 4 leopard frog populations with the unique call, including one within view of the Statue of Liberty, and took DNA samples. As they suspected, the odd croakers weren't southern or northern leopard frogs, or even a mix. They had a genetic ancestry of their own, earning them new species status. Those results appear in the journal Molecular Phylogenetics and Evolution. Try to get a baby to smile, it can seem close to impossible. And then suddenly there it is, that elusive, seemingly joyous grin. Well, it turns out those smiles aren't spontaneous.
They're strategic. Researchers have found that when babies smile, it's for a reason. They want whoever they're interacting with, typically a parent, to smile back. And they time it just so, a smile here and a smile there. The researchers call it sophisticated timing. The study is in the journal PLOS One. The researchers enlisted real mothers and infants and quantified their interactions, which fell into four categories. One, babies wanted to maximize the amount of time smiling at their mothers. Two, they wanted to maximize the time the mother smiled at them. Three, they wanted to experience simultaneous smiling. And four, no smiling at all.
If you spent any time hitting up the giant wholesalers or other markets this holiday season, you've probably figured out that you can make a full meal out of those tasty little samples they often dish out, which seems like a good thing for you and for your wallet. But a new study shows that these tempting little treats really do entice you to buy what you try, and maybe some other stuff like it. Researchers tracked the sales in half a dozen stores that provided samples of snacks in four categories: healthy, salty, frozen, or branded by a large coffee shop chain. They found that noshing while shopping convinces consumers to buy the featured product more often than does simply seeing the product displayed at the end of the aisle. They also found that repeating the sample offering multiple times translates into sustained interest in the product. And that stores that have a smaller assortment of products for sale benefit more than the warehouse size emporia. Happy New Year! And if you've been away from work for a few days, you deserve some time off. After all, you've traveled far, even if you just stayed at home. According to NASA, just by being on the planet Earth in the last year, you zipped about 584 million miles around the sun at an average speed of about 67,000 miles per hour. Hey, I wasn't speeding in my inertial reference frame. Of course, the trip was not a perfect circle. As Kepler showed, the Earth's orbit is an ellipse with the sun at one of the two focal points. He also figured out the planet goes faster when it's at perihelion, nearer the sun, than when it's at aphelion, its furthest distance, which would explain why summer seems to zip by, except that the seasons are a function of the tilt of the Earth's axis, not its different distances from the sun.